I'm living my nightmare. But you know what? Here I am making a podcast episode all about it. Whatever, give a fuck. That could be the meds. Anyway, I wash my hands and check the lock. I Google symptoms round the clock. Intrusive thoughts inside my head. Google says I'm dead. Hello guys, welcome back. Oh my god, I'm having a week. I am having such a shit time. So I thought, what better time to record the second episode of Rose CD. Okay, so my current condition is not good. 7 weeks ago, I hurt my back and I thought I just pulled a muscle and it was agony, but it was manageable. It was slowly getting better. Fast forward like 6 weeks, I go on holiday to Devon and my chiropractor's like, don't go. And I'm like, okay, I won't. So I went to Devon and I got back and I don't know what happened, but I was just trying to grab Rocky, my son, to prevent him falling down the stairs. Whatever was wrong with my back moved to sciatic nerve pain. And all I can say is that I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. It has been an absolute nightmare. So I went for an MRI scan and I've herniated my, is it L5 disc? And it's pressing on the S1 nerve. All fun and games at first, until they told me I needed urgent spinal surgery 2 days ago at A&E, and I'm yet to hear from the hospital. So I'm in a lot of pain. I can't walk. I can't feel my leg. There's a syndrome, I think it's called cauda equina or equina, where you can actually be paralysed for life. Fortunately, at the moment, it's not that. But I'm not in a good way. And then to top it all off, to add insult to injury, last night I was like, right, if I have to go to hospital, I've got grey roots going on. So Rosie was like, oh, just go in the cupboard and there's some like root touch-up hair dye. And I was like, great. So I get it out. I put it on. I look at the dye starting to develop and it's purple. And I said, Rosie, what the hell kind of colour is this? She was like, oh, that's mahogany, that's mine. That was me for another crazy day. And I was like, this is like purple hair. She was like, don't worry about it, it'll wash out after 32 times. So now I can't walk, I look like a twat and I don't feel great. And what's tough is I've got really bad health anxiety OCD, right? I never did, but as an adult I do. And I think it's because now as an adult I have more to lose in the sense that I've got dependents who rely on me. And by that I mean Rosie. The kids are fine, they're self-sufficient. And I've got a house, a job, bills to pay. And I'm like, okay, if something happens to me and if I'm at the top of the pyramid, everything will tumble. Now, it's not to say I don't trust Rosie to look after the children, I do. But for me, I'm such a get up and go person. To receive an early diagnosis of a life-changing disease or to have some kind of horrible accident where I can't walk, these are nightmare situations for me. If you think I haven't Googled every type of question about what I've done to my back, you are mistaken because I have. But weirdly, I feel oddly calm about this because even though these things are like my worst nightmare, not being in control, like when I had my cesarean section, I was like, oh my God, what if there's like a human error? What if I'm the one unlucky statistic where something goes wrong and I'm paralyzed for life or I die or my baby dies? But weirdly, when I'm in that situation, because I know there is simply nothing I can do and I have to just let life do life, I'm weirdly calm about it because I fully surrender to not having control. This year has been particularly stressful. I don't know why. 2026 so far has not been the one. I've had flare-ups of OCD. I've had flare-ups of sciatica. I've done my back in. Everything is kind of up in the air, personally and professionally. And I'm like, where am I in life? Weirdly, I feel calm about knowing I have impending surgery in the next like 3 or 4 days on my spine to make sure that I regain feeling and function in my right leg. I can't even drive right now. I'm living my nightmare. But you know what? Here I am making a podcast episode all about it, not worrying too much, whatever, give a fuck. Anyway, that could be the meds. Let's talk about spiral of the week. Well, mine was being paralysed because after spending 16 hours in A&E, I have met every character under the sun from every walk of life. And put it this way, everybody's dealing with their shit. That's one thing I've learned from so long in A&E. It felt like Hotel California, but more puke. Everybody is going through it at the moment. I don't know where you are in the world or what you do for a living or where you are in your life, but I can guarantee that everybody is facing their own personal demons. Rosie at the moment, she cannot sleep. And this is the girl that you cannot wake when she is asleep, but she just can't sleep. Now, I know we briefly touched on the first episode about what OCD actually is, what it means to have OCD, and we will talk more about that. But I also want to talk about how OCD makes me feel personally. It's quite difficult to explain it to someone. Like the other day, Rosie was like, can you just not plump the pillows? And I was like, oh, that's like saying to someone, can you just not be an alcoholic? Or can you just not be depressed? And it's true. And it's not because she doesn't understand it. She totally understands it. But I want to explain how it makes me feel if I don't plump the pillows. And I'm going to try and articulate it as best I can because it is quite tricky. It makes me feel, sounds so rudimental. It makes me feel bad inside. Not bad as in morally bad, but just down, stressed, anxious. Like there's something I could easily fix and I don't. And by not doing so, I'm not contributing positively to the world. And for my own personal brain function, I need organization and I need it strongly. It's the only way that I can cope with the pressures of life in terms of all the things I can't control. So I look at the things I can control, right? And this is where I spiral because there are things totally out of my control. Things like my health. I mean, yeah, I can eat well, I can exercise, I can do my best to live a good, healthy lifestyle, which I don't, by the way, guys. I'm disgusting. Today I've eaten biscuits, crisps, and croissants, and I'm not proud of it. But I need organization. For example, I cannot start my work from home if I haven't hoovered the carpet. If there are bits of what I like to call carpet grit staring me blindly in the face, I cannot cope with that. I just can't do it. I can't concentrate on my work. And it's really difficult at the moment because I can't actually pick up anything. The toys from the kids are everywhere. The house looks like a bloody bomb site. I can't bend over. That's what she said. And it's tricky because I have to concentrate on this podcast, on the other creative projects that I want to do. And I can't get into the creative headspace if my surrounding, I'm like a sim. You know when your sim's needs are like red? If you have like a neat freak sim and they get really upset, that's how I am in real life. I even walk that way right now. I just can't do it. I can't concentrate. Every morning I start my day by making my bed. And if I don't do that, and I spoke about this in therapy, I've had cognitive behavioral therapy. I had that in 2023 because I started believing I was living in a simulation. I will get onto that. It was a dark time. I live and have married a conspiracy theorist, and honestly, it sends me. It triggers me so much. And yet I'm there like, so why do you think that, Rosie? And she's like, well, Rose, I'll tell you. All she does is DM me conspiracy theory, like Instagram reels. And I'm like, I haven't got time for this. Anyway, I just can't seem to focus unless I have order. And it has to be a certain way at a certain time because that's what I need to function. I have no differentiation, remember. I have no separation between work and home life. I have an office, which I try to keep as work-focused as possible and as creative as possible. But then every other room is literally filled with toys, dog crap, clothes, dirty and clean. And it gets on top of me so much. And I'm not good in my head if I don't have a clean space that's just mine. Like I co-sleep with my son at the moment. I haven't even got the bed to myself. You know, I have been tested in terms of my OCD over the last 2 years with children. Not in the sense that, I'm going to have intrusive thoughts about being a parent and being a mother. I mean, yeah, I have had a few, not anywhere near as many as I thought I'd have. I mean, that was I'm sorry, I know I keep jumping around with this podcast, but this is just my stream of consciousness, guys. But yeah, when I first got pregnant, I had this overwhelming sense of calm. And I was like, what is this? This is not me. I am the most anxious, uptight person. I've literally been nicknamed high alert by my friends. But I was so calm. I was like, well, look, it is what it is. I'd already had a miscarriage in 2020. And, it's true what they say. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Or it triggers you endlessly and then you have a phobia. Anyway, I was okay when I got pregnant. And I actually had a very early 5.5 week bleed. And I was like, I'm having another miscarriage. Okay, whatever. It's sad, but I'll get through it. But I didn't, thank God. And Rocky was born. But I had this sense of calm when I was pregnant. And I was like, what is this? This is very new to me. And even though I did my back and my rib when I was pregnant too, I was still really calm. And on the day of my cesarean, I was like, oh, okay, my waters have broke naturally. This is kind of nice that something, again, is out of my control because I had to have an elective C-section because then I could plan the date and time and plan what socks and shoes I was going to pack, which is very important to me. And I will get onto that. But the day came and again, really calm. And it all went really, really well. And I was like, God, that is crazy how calm I've been. And then it's when everything is actually calm. My brain's trying to find danger. And that's what OCD does. It tries to find danger that doesn't actually exist. I think I read a statistic where, is it 85% of your worries never ever come true. The feeling of dread for an OCD sufferer, that is awful. The feeling of impending doom, that's the only way I can describe it. Like if I didn't do that compulsion, that rumination, if I didn't obsess over this for a certain amount of time to try and come all the way back around to reassuring myself or having someone else reassure me, what will happen? What will happen? And it's breaking that cycle. It's so difficult to do. Now I've got a fear of flying. I don't know why. I never had one when I was young. I didn't care. I trusted everyone in their profession. I didn't doubt a single person. I thought, well, if you're a pilot, you can fly a plane. I have nothing to worry about. If you're a policeman, you're morally good, you know? Little did I know, eh? Little did I know. But I have a fear of flying and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I had a panic attack. I had a real panic attack on the way back from Paris. We were flying through a storm. We couldn't land and we had to circle for quite a while. It was very, very bumpy. And I was like, this is the end. But that feeling where your stomach literally just drops and you think, I'm going to have a panic attack. The top of my legs starts shaking and it's like uncontrollable shaking. And people are like, you cold? And I'm like, no, I'm just so mentally ill. The most powerful thing I could do in that moment was say to myself, I will get on a plane again and do this again. This is a terrible time, but I'm going to get on another plane and I'm going to go somewhere else and not let it control me. And I did. And even though it's hard, I'm so glad I said that to myself, because I think if I hadn't, then I would have said, I'm never doing this again. This is a horrible experience. That's it. But I do have my little processes before getting on a plane. Now I have to do it. I feel like I have to do it. I can't control much, obviously, in the air. I can't fly a plane and I can't control what happens. But what I can control are the whiteness of my trainers and fresh socks. I've got a problem with dirty clothes. If I spilt something down myself before a plane, and it happened once and it landed on my trainers, I had to go and buy some wet wipes from the pharmacy. I don't so much see it as a sign that something bad's going to happen. It's not as superstitious as that. It's just the way that I feel. I have to feel as if I have full control over just one element. And if that's my hand luggage or the way that I present myself, I have to have it. And if I don't, I just feel icky. I don't think the plane will come down and everyone's going to die. But I just don't feel good. And that's the only way I can really articulate how it makes me feel. Like, I could probably crack on with a new creative project in a ton of mess. But do I feel good about it? No, I do not. I do not feel good about that. And I know people can relate. But here's the thing. The thoughts, they're not the problem. I think a lot of people who suffer with OCD think the thoughts are the problem. The thoughts make me the problem. No, it's the way we process the thoughts that's the problem. The way that we are wired is the problem. The way that we get caught in a loop of uncertainty, reassurance, relief, uncertainty, reassurance, relief. The checking, the Googling, the replaying of memories, seeking reassurance, the avoidance. Avoidance is really tough. We don't talk about avoidance that much, actually. And I avoided every trigger. And what does that do, guys? It gives it power. It gives it power. It gives it meaning. It is your brain saying, you must avoid that because that is dangerous. And it's not. It's like me avoiding planes. They're not dangerous. No plane has ever crashed, ever. But no, seriously, statistically, it's the safest thing you could do. And I know that. I know that. Does it help? Not always. Most people can tolerate having a thought and not knowing what it means, not even analysing it, not even thinking about it twice. We can't control the thoughts that enter our head. We truly can't. And it's like the great saying when they say, don't think of the pink elephant. And what do you think of? Subscribing to this podcast. But you're also probably thinking about pink elephant right now, right? So we've got to break down the power that we give these thoughts. I also developed the tick. When I had an intrusive thought, I clicked. And I was clicking all the time, all day long. I did it to try and break the thought from getting any bigger in my head or a scenario from escalating in my head. And I used to click. I used to do all sorts of things. I used to jump. I used to say, I used to go, no. Or I used to go, gross. It's anything that would break that cycle in my brain. And I know a lot of people develop these things. And I know it's not always just OCD where people develop a tick. Rosie has a tick, and I'm pretty sure she's got ADHD, and it's taken her a very long time to stop ticking. But reassurance doesn't help for long. It doesn't. And I remember when I was younger, when I had my 2 years living with my mum and dad, my sister was working at the local doctor's surgery to save up for her master's degree. And so she was like kind of always available to chat to me. Not that doctor's surgery staff don't do anything and have a lot of free time, but she was kind of on hand. I remembered her mobile number off by heart, obviously, because I call her like 7 times a day. Like, Laura, I've had this thought. I've had this feeling. Does this make me a bad person? Can you just go through this with me? And bless her heart, she did. Because she probably didn't understand that by reassuring someone, it looks so cold-hearted. It looks so bitchy. Just like, no, shut the fuck up. Get over it. But actually, that's what you need to hear. One of the hardest things that I have to deal with is if I have a thought that truly does still worry me, like an intrusive, taboo thought. Could I potentially act on that? Do I have that in me? Does everybody have good and evil in them? And what would it take for that evil to come out? That sort of thing. I get stuck and I think, well, let's just think this through. And I think, right, okay, let's think about this. But that's time wasting and that's giving it more power. But it's really difficult to be like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to think, yeah, maybe, and move on with my day. That is so seemingly impossible for people who have OCD. So when I did group therapy, there was this guy and his biggest worry was about water leaking because he'd flooded his house in the past. So his biggest worry was, oh my God, I can hear water. Water will get into my house. It will flood. I will lose everything and I will be financially bankrupt from it. Our therapist was like, right, okay, we'll call him Norman. I could have been his real name. Our therapist was like, I'm just going to go and turn the tap on and let it drip. All right, Norman, I'm just going to do that. How does that make you feel, Norman? And I was like, yeah, Norman. He was like sweating. Like he was not happy. And it wasn't even his house. And it wasn't even creating a pool of water. It was just going down the drain. But he was so triggered by the noise of water dripping that he just couldn't concentrate on his life. Like he never left the house apart from for therapy. Fair play, Norman. He was always listening at night. He was catastrophizing every day. Now, that's something I do. I definitely do that with my health. Even finances. It's a very boring type of OCD. It's a very adult thing, I think, to have. I sometimes think, what if I lose everything? What if I lose my health? What if I lose my family? And these seem like real worries to me. And I think that's what's difficult when you have OCD, because you think they are real worries, because they sometimes can be. But it's the way that we deal with them, the way that we react, the way that we often let them dominate and control us. It's a fight. It's exhausting and it's a battle. OCD demands an answer and you can't give it one. You just can't give it one. And recovery isn't about becoming thought-free, because that's never going to happen. That is never going to happen. You're never going to have no thoughts in your head. Good, bad, ugly, whatever. They're going to come in. They're going to leave. You've got to kind of view it like clouds passing you by. Like observe the thoughts and let it go. It requires a lot of training and practice. And as soon as you've done it once, you're kind of on the way there. There have been times where I've had a thought and I've gone, I'm not going to give this any time. I have decided that is not worth my time. I haven't got an answer. It doesn't matter. I'm going to let it go. I will live with uncertainty and doubt. And living with doubt, I think, is so hard. It is so, so hard. One of my triggers is fires. I don't know why. Sometimes I wonder if I had an issue with a fire in a past life, because I'm terrified of it. I'm really scared of it. I can't talk about it too much because I'm scared if I talk about it, something will happen, right? But I'm going to talk about it. I am scared that there will be a fire and I will not know how to put it out and we'll die in a house fire. Living with doubt that I haven't checked the Aga. Yes, I have an Aga. That doesn't make me a certain type of person. I don't like it. The house came with one. I don't really like switching it on, and it's financially bankrupting me. Anyway, because it's always on and always hot, I'm like, oh my God, is anything on the Aga? Have I left something on there? Have I left like a sponge that's dry that could potentially catch fire and spread? Could I actually cause an Australian bushfire from the UK by being negligent and not checking enough? My brain goes, oh, okay. Did you? And I go, yeah, no, 100%. I'm very confident that I checked everything. 100%. Yep, I did. And then before I fall asleep, my brain goes, wouldn't it be terrible if something happened though? Because you just didn't check that one last time. Just that one last time wouldn't take very long. And I have fought so long to the point where I'm like, do you know what? If I just checked this like 3 hours ago, I would have been asleep by now. So let's talk about some of my unwanted intrusive thoughts, shall we? Let's start light. Okay, let's start light. Whenever I'm using a power tool or a sharp knife, I always have the urge to like run my fingers just lightly across a circular saw, because I'm like, oh, I wonder if I'd feel that. I really think about it. Like, I'm like, well, I'll just, no, it's probably the wrong decision. that might hurt. That might catch. Whenever I'm doing anything like that, I'm like, well, I'll just touch it. No, I won't touch it. Whenever I used to lock the door in my mum's downstairs cloakroom, I had to kiss the hinge of the door before I left. I don't know what the consequence would have been if I hadn't. This is the thing. It didn't make any sense to me, even if I had some kind of like outcome that I assumed might happen, something bad, if I didn't kiss the hinge of the door. I think I was just kissing it one day, and I think my brother walked past. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I was like, "Nothing, just practicing by." I don't even know what I said, but I had to do it. And every time I go back to my parents' house now, I'm like, oh, the paint's a little bit rubbed away from my lips. But the way that we break the OCD cycle isn't about getting certainty. It's learning to tolerate uncertainty. OCD throws up scary thoughts, right? Feelings, doubts. And then we are so tempted to perform a compulsion, whether it's checking or Googling or getting someone to reassure you. Mine was all about analysing actions, memories, daydreams, dreams even. Oh, God, nightmare. And avoiding anything that would trigger me. And for a while, that was the vulnerable. So elderly people, disabled people, children, anyone vulnerable, that used to be a trigger of mine. All of these things teach the brain that the obsession was important enough and dangerous enough to flag. The cycle starts again. But recovery comes from resisting the compulsions, right? And allowing the uncertainty to be there. It's tough, but over time, the brain learns that the thought isn't actually a threat and the anxiety naturally reduces on its own, right? But it takes practice. OCD says, find the answer, but recovery says, maybe I'll never know and that's okay. So I think OCD's solution to uncertainty is more thinking, right? And recovery is discovering that uncertainty wasn't the problem in the first place. But when you're in it, and I said this in episode 1, when you're in it, it's really difficult to see it from the outside when you're kind of stuck. And we have to train our brain. We literally have to exercise our minds the way that any physical athlete would train and build muscle. We have to build resilience. We have to build new pathways to let things go, to let them enter and exit without getting stuck in a circuit. I have a few friends that understand OCD quite well, actually, and I'm very fortunate in that regard. But I imagine there are quite a few people who are kind of in this alone or have a good support network, don't get me wrong, but maybe they don't quite understand the condition enough to help you through it in a way that you need. I'm going to ask you a question. What's the most ridiculous thing OCD has ever convinced you to worry about? Okay, now you might think, and I say ridiculous, but this is the thing. It's not ridiculous to the person who's in it, and it seems very dangerous. I'll give you an example. When I was in group therapy, back in the day, there was a woman going through a divorce, right? And her husband worked at Morrison's supermarket, and she couldn't buy any food from Morrison's because she thought if he touches any product that she brought into her house, he would in fact get custody of all 3 children. Our therapist was like, what does everyone think about that? And I was like, lol, that's ridiculous. But I didn't know at the time that that was her worry, because our therapist just used it as an example worry. And I thought it was like hypothetical. So then I felt like a bitch. And I was like, oh, sorry, we'll call her Mary. Sorry, that's probably her name. Sorry, Mary, good luck with the divorce. Things seem silly because there is no rational link, but in the mind of an OCD sufferer, there is a link, or there is something strong enough to create uncertainty. It's a very real problem. There are problems now that I used to have that I look back on and think, how ridiculous. And that hindsight is wonderful. And that's why I think, I have recovered in so many ways. I'm not saying I will ever fully recover, because I don't think OCD is something I just suffer with. I think it's a part of me. I think it's a part of who I am. And I don't hate that. I don't hate it because I wouldn't be me without it. Yeah, it has inhibited me in many ways, but it's also really gone for me in others. And I think that's a really positive thing to take away from this episode. So join me in episode 3. I'm going to talk about cognitive behavioral therapy, my experiences with it. We're going to talk about some of the reasons why I thought, okay, now is the time. I need some professional help again. What caused me to get there? How my lifestyle contributed to hitting rock bottom really in 2023, how I picked myself up, what I learned, and I might even take you through I can't remember what it's called, was it a mind map, my progress, my worksheet, whatever it was. Just to shed light on where my brain was at. It was in the Matrix, guys. So if you enjoyed this episode, hit follow wherever you're listening. It really helps the podcast grow. And before next week's episode, I'd love to hear from you. You can send me a message on Instagram, and I may share some of your responses next time. I will keep it all anonymous. Don't worry, I never use anyone's real name. But until then, try not to believe everything your brain tells you. And I'll see you next week.